you know, this might sound like a bad dream. You're eating in your sleep and you have no idea or memory of it when you wake up the next day.
You're here to say that it's real.
Yeah.
And you can get help for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Jason Carney wasn't taking sleeping pills, yet he would unknowingly wake up multiple times a night in search of food. As WCCO's Liz Collin found, he tried to fix it himself until he realized that there were others fighting the very same thing.
I've always been a pretty good sleeper. When I was a boy, no issues really at all.
There was never a time Jason Carney could remember struggling with sleep until a stressful stretch of his life 7 years ago. He lived in D.C., worked a demanding job, and decided to finally quit smoking. Carney moved to Shakopee with his family for a change of pace. He started to diet and track calories on his phone.
But I wasn't losing any weight at all.
It didn't take long for Carney to connect the dots.
The next morning, I'd wake up and I'd see food wrappers in the kitchen.
His Fitbit found he'd be up as many as 6 or 7 times, eating in his sleep.
In the morning, I'd have wrappers here, here, and here. And what I could do is I could just take them and group them. And I could look at my Fitbit and say, okay, you were awake 3 times. And they're like, oh, I have 3 piles. Magic.
It went on for years as Carney tried to control it himself.
Over 5 to 7 years, I couldn't.
He installed motion alarms he would disarm in his sleep.
Crackers, chips, Cliff Bars were a big deal for me.
Then tried different sleep aids and vitamins, all while trying to eat very little when he was awake during the day.
You were trying to kind of learn to live with this. You thought this was just going to have to be a part of your life.
Exactly, yeah.
Eventually, Carney couldn't ignore the research he found online and had to admit he had a real problem, one the Minnesota Regional Sleep Disorders Center at Hennepin County Medical Center had seen many times before.
He kind of knew the diagnosis before he even came into the sleep clinic. Most patients don't have that knowledge.
Dr. Renji Verghese diagnosed Carney with a sleep-related eating disorder, the same diagnosis as many as 20% of their patients will see. Dr. Verghese says a high percentage are former smokers. The nicotine cravings still so strong, they act as a trigger. And often patients with the disorder will be so out of it, they'll eat things like raw bacon or butter to satisfy their hunger.
They're not awake. Their brain is still sleeping. They're just engaging in these complex behaviors. They might eat these unusual foods, and then they go directly back into bed and have no recall.
In Carney's case, he now takes half an antidepressant pill each day.
Like flipping a switch. It was unreal.
In 2 weeks, he dropped 15 pounds and went from waking up 6 or 7 times a night to maybe once.
So you're here to say that it's real.
Yeah.
And you can get help for it.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
If he is awake now, Carney says he knows it and can go back to sleep without eating. A simple concept that seemed impossible not long ago. Liz Collin, WCCO 4 News.
Dr. Verghese told Liz that medications are not always necessary to treat a sleep eating disorder. Sometimes having better sleep habits can help, like a rigid sleep schedule, less computer or cell phone use, and making changes to your bedroom. Bottom line, it is best to check with a doctor before trying to treat yourself.
Never seen anything like that.
Never have either.